The rush of NFL free agent moves has cooled down a little bit, so today we're going to dig into some of the winners and losers at the wide receiver position. Let's begin in Las Vegas, where one man's addition comes at the detriment of another. Jakobi Meyers kicked off the wide receiver free agent signings with a 3-year, $33 million contract with $21 million guaranteed. While he leaves the faltering New England offense to reunite with Josh McDaniels, he also has to share the room with Davante Adams, who led the league with a 32% target share last year. While it may end up being a somewhat lateral move for him, he is likely encroaching on Hunter Renfrow's territory. Through 10 games of Renfrow's first year in the McDaniels offense, his out-wide percentages dropped from 35% to 13%, being pushed into the slot on a whopping 86% of his snaps. If McDaniels doesn't think Renfrow is capable of playing an outside role, and it seems like he does not, things are going to get awkward when Meyers comes to town. In Jakobi's second and third years of his NFL career, he lined up in the slot on 60 and 65% of his snaps, including the 2021 season under McDaniels when he caught 89 balls on 130 targets. It's possible that trading away Darren Waller could free up some target share to keep Renfrow relevant, but there's also a chance that the team re-signs Foster Moreau, who has filled in capably for Waller when the latter has been forced to miss time. The most likely outcome in Las Vegas is that Hunter Renfrow is no longer fantasy relevant. With the news that Aaron Rodgers is expected to sign with the New York Jets at some point, Allen Lazard has signed a 4-year, $44 million contract with $22 million of it guaranteed. The move will likely slot him in as the second option on the offense, though that level of usage may not be enough to make him a fantasy target in drafts this year. What it does do is immediately make Corey Davis expendable in New York, and we could be seeing him moved sooner rather than later. Also reeling from this and possible future moves is Elijah Moore. Odell Beckham is purportedly on the short list of Aaron Rodgers' wants and would immediately make Elijah Moore a fourth option in this offense if they don't move on from him as well. Let's break up all this negativity with an intriguing signing. Deonte Harty may be a name that you either forgot about or you have never heard of, but the Buffalo Bills have heard of him and they gave him a 2-year, $13.5 million contract. Harty was a UDFA in 2019 before being picked up by the Saints. At 5'6", 170 pounds, he is definitely not an every down player, but if he's used the right way, he can make his speed felt. In 2021, 23 of his 36 catches went for first downs, and he would finish with 2.7 yards per route run on the year, ranking 7th out of 140 qualifying pass catchers. His 15.8 yards per reception ranked 8th out of that same pool of players. Harty didn't have a chance to build on that highly efficient season, as he missed almost all of 2022 with a toe injury. Now he will be paired with Josh Allen, who easily led the league in pass attempts that traveled at least 15 air yards with 130 of them. Harty is not going to be a volume play in fantasy football, no matter how the rest of this offseason plays out, but he does make an intriguing name to keep an eye on at the very end of drafts. Another nearly forgotten name, and Deonte Harty's former teammate, Michael Thomas restructured his contract to stick around in New Orleans. Understandably, it's a name that most fantasy managers would prefer to have forgotten. But, like clockwork, Thomas once again finds himself in a great situation if he actually makes it to the field. No one would expect him to replicate one of his 150 target seasons, but he is in a good position to play an underneath role for Derek Carr, a role that the quarterback has proven fond of in the recent past. In his last fully healthy season of 2019, Michael Thomas was second in receptions and third in both targets and yardage on balls that traveled 10 to 19 yards through the air. Of course, this was with a steadily declining Drew Brees, but Carr isn't afraid to work the short and intermediate areas of the field. At least, not anymore. Carr ranked 10th and 5th over the last 2 years in pass attempts that traveled those 10 to 19 yards through the air. That's after ignoring that area of the field through large stretches of his career, including ranking 25th in intermediate attempts in 2018. There's a lot of ifs surrounding Michael Thomas, once again, but he could be worth one more stab depending on how far he falls down your draft boards. Our final winner for today is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room. JuJu Smith-Schuster got snatched up by the New England Patriots on a 3-year, $33 million deal. He is essentially a 1v1 replacement for Jakobi Meyers and should operate perfectly fine as a wide receiver 3 in fantasy. He's moving to a lower volume offense, but should be more of a focal point with his new team. While the Chiefs allowed JuJu to head east, they haven't made any of their own moves in free agency, at least not in the wide receiver room. Because of that, the biggest winner of the KC bunch could be Skyy Moore. Moore and JuJu played very similar roles throughout the season, but the rookie was used sparingly at times. There was never more than 5 catches in a game for Skyy, and he only eclipsed 50 yards on one occasion. With JuJu off of the depth chart, we could be in for much more usage for the sophomore in year 2, which makes him a free agent winner for the Kansas City Chiefs.